Hello, this is the FYI on Youth Ministry, and I am your host, Giovanny Panginda. And today, we're actually taking a break from our usual programming to bring you this very special bonus episode. It's totally different from our usual style, but we're going to share a guided prayer walk. And it was actually created by one of our colleagues here at the Fuller Youth Institute, Lisa Nopachai. So Lisa is actually here with me today. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Gio.
Lisa is a diversity, equity, and inclusion project coordinator, and she's a mother of two and an avid rock climber. I would love to know how you got into rock climbing, because I've tried rock climbing and it is a challenge. My fingers, wow.
That's a great question. I was introduced by a friend as I was traveling across country, moving from Washington, D.C. to Pasadena, California about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was just in Cleveland for a night. A friend brought me indoor rock climbing and I woke up. I've never woken up achier in my life, but I was also hooked.
Yeah.
It's such a full mind and body experience. Like when you're up there, there's just nothing else that you could think about except just trying to get to the top, trying to hold on. It's just all encompassing. So I just love how fun it is.
Yeah. Do you also get competitive with your friends?
No, not at all. Like
Not at all.
We're all on very different levels, but I get competitive with myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you can move up in level incrementally, which is actually very encouraging. Yeah.
Okay.
To see the progress slowly, but surely.
No, I love that, because the best competition is yourself. That's how you improve.
Yeah.
Well, the podcast team, we heard that you had this guided prayer walk, and we thought it was such a great fit with what we're trying to do with this season, which is pretty much to offer resources for renewal and refreshment for all youth leaders. And some of our listeners, they actually might think this sounds familiar, and they're right, because if they were signed up for our email list, they got a special preview of this great resource. Lisa, can you tell us exactly what the resource is?
Sure. It is an 8-minute guided prayer meditation with instructions, complete instructions. You don't have to read anything. It's simply pressing play. And for 8 minutes, you're just guided through how to just find God's presence on just your typical walk in your neighborhood, wherever you might be, just really intentionally looking at where do I see God? Where do I see God's creation? And really brought to a place of awe in intentional ways.
Okay. And you created this as part of your work at FYI. So can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So my role is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Project Coordinator at Fuller Youth Institute, specifically for a project called Character and Virtue Development in Youth Ministry. So that is a lot of words. But basically, we are looking at different virtues, specific virtues like compassion and love, faith, hope, perseverance, humility, and how can we be intentional in helping young people develop those and helping youth leaders help young people to develop those? So we've been working on this for a few years now and have interviewed 100 youth pastors. We've been to many different churches all across the country and youth ministries, like parachurch organizations, just looking at best practices of how people are developing these virtues in young people from a faith-based perspective. And then we're also taking social science research and applying that. So what has already been found to cultivate these virtues in adolescence. It's an exciting project. I know I've learned so much. And one of the things that was surprising to me was how awe and wonder are really key in developing a number of these virtues. So there have been psychological studies about how being intentional in looking for those moments throughout the day, even in the most ordinary circumstances, can develop a sense of awe and wonder and just take your breath away if you really take a moment to step back and allow that space. The research shows that awe and wonder can bring about humility and compassion and pro-social behavior, which is just another way of saying being willing to help out others around us. I know for me, like I could get so caught up in my own mind, right?
Yeah.
So just taking a step back and helping people become a more intentional friend even. So that's where our research has been looking at.
Yeah. I love that you get to research about awe and wonder, because when I think about awe and wonder, I first think about the painting Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And I am just in awe of the colors and the vibrancy. But then I go for a walk, a night walk when I'm camping, and the actual stars, right? The stars themselves, the creation. Like I can't help but be in awe and wonder of that 10 times more than the beautiful painting that Vincent van Gogh created. And I love that you're talking about awe and wonder. So speaking of walking, is there a significance of why walking is important then?
After 2 years of living in a pandemic and spending so much time recognizing the physical body, whether that's being impacted by COVID, and also just the physical implications of our broader national conversations about race, and recognizing that we are bodies, and our bodies, no matter what they look like or their abilities, that they do matter, and they matter to God.
Yeah.
And so cultivating awe and wonder doesn't need to be in the form of a walk at all. You know, I used to be a hospital chaplain. I would lead guided meditations for patients while they were lying in their beds and just imagining, right? So you don't have to walk, but walking is a good way of just connecting with the body and recognizing that God created us in a body, and that matters to God. God brought Jesus, his son, here in a body, and that we look at that really closely during Lent, maybe more than other times in the liturgical year, if that's like your tradition. And walking is also just calming. And there actually has been research specifically done on all walking. So not just, looking at nature, or even looking in an urban setting. There was one study about how even looking up at a skyscraper and, looking out at a tree, like both can have those effects of awe. And likewise, there have been studies, or at least one that I could think of, a study that particularly looks at walking, just taking a walk in the neighborhood versus taking a walk that's specifically looking to cultivate awe. And that is the one that they found that, it does help build these pro-social behaviors like compassion and humility.
That's so beautifully described. So, Lisa, speaking of embodiment, I actually like to go to the gym. I go on this treadmill a lot. Is walking on a treadmill, does that count as part of awe and wonder?
That's a good question, Gio. I think anything could be counted because God is present in every moment, right? That said, there is more research about, being in nature or being on a walk. But I do believe that awe can be cultivated in any circumstance because God and the Spirit are present everywhere. And I wrote about this in my blog post, but I used to teach classes for new moms, bringing in some of my chaplaincy experience and those tools like guided meditations. And we would do this exercise where we would just really gaze at our children in a really observant way, but also just asking, like, what am I thankful for? What might be awe-inspiring in them? Yeah. And it was just amazing how the whole room, like the whole tone of the room changed. Like if children were agitated or yelling or whatnot, like everything would just like quiet down and calm. And it wasn't anything that we were saying. It was just like that mindset and the spirit, I think, of just looking and gazing in awe. And I'm not saying that would happen necessarily every time. It's like, kids, as a mom of young children, it can be so infuriating and frustrating at times too, right? But like just taking those moments of intentionally looking at God's creation through people. So if I were at the gym on a treadmill, I would actually probably be drawn to looking at the people around me and just like really looking, really gazing. And I think it's more about the state of your heart versus like the particular location. This practice can be done in any location. God is present everywhere, and even looking at the flower growing in the midst of concrete or something beautiful in the midst of any setting, that God is just present everywhere.
That's a great reminder. I like that. And you created this downloadable file that leaders can use and to share with students. So can you walk us through exactly how you imagined leaders using this resource?
Yeah, I think that it would be best to do it yourself first, just to, see what it's all about. But it's only 8 minutes. And that 8 minutes includes like preparing to go outside too. So just turn it on while you're still inside, getting ready to go out. And then, just sharing it with your group and just inviting them to do it. I hope that students will find it to be refreshing and not like a burden. Like it's not like something where you have to put a lot of thought into it. It's just spending time with God. And Giovanny has this great book called With, and it talks about all different ways of relating to God. Like we can think that we're doing work for God, but what he comes to, basically his whole thesis is like God invites us to be with him and just rest in him and to just spend time like you would enjoy with a friend. So it's even like there in the prayer walk, like maybe you could even imagine yourself walking with Jesus, which sounds super cheesy sometimes, but like just what would that be like to just imagine Jesus by your side, like walking with you, not necessarily even having to say anything or do anything, but just hanging out.
Yeah. I know it's going to be great for students, and it's going to be great for us too. And listeners, if you want to share this with your students or with anyone, we're going to include that in the show notes page. So if you want to hear more about resources like this, be sure to sign up for the Fuller Youth Institute email list. In fact, we're going to be taking a short break on the podcast while working on some other projects that will be coming on your way soon. But if you sign up with our email and follow us on social media, you'll be the first to know about the fresh content that we'll have over the next several weeks. And we'll be back with the podcast after Easter to bring you more episodes. Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing this really great resource with us.
Oh, thank you, Gio. And if you ever want to go rock climbing, let me know.
Ooh, sounds like a challenge.
An invitation.
Okay, all right, invitation. And now it's finally time. Let's play the guided prayer walk.
Welcome. In a few moments, we'll begin our guided prayer walk focused on awe and worship. Awe isn't something we talk about very much. But have you ever looked out at the ocean or stood under a night sky full of stars or seen a sunset that takes your breath away? That's the feeling of awe, the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that challenges our understanding of the world, a feeling of wonder or amazement. Research shows that experiencing awe is good for our minds and bodies. It helps us to be a better friend and have healthier relationships. And taking time out of our day to experience awe is one way of worshiping God, showing love and praise to our Creator. This is a guided prayer walk to help you find those moments of awe as a way to connect with and worship God. You may not usually go for walks, or you might not think your neighborhood is very awe-inspiring, but keep an open mind. God can be encountered in the places we least expect, like the color of the sky, or a breeze. It's a chance to get out of our heads and be in the moment together with God. To begin, find a location where it feels safe to take a walk outside in the daylight. If you need to, pause this audio file and head over there right now. If walking outside isn't an option, spend some time looking out a window, lying down, or sitting, imagining somewhere beautiful you've been. If you're indoors, whenever I refer to walking or looking, you can simply imagine yourself doing so. Let's get started. Take a moment to pause where you are and take 3 or 4 deep breaths. Feel the air fill you up as you inhale, and as you exhale, simply relax your whole body. Return to your normal breathing as you begin to walk. Feel free to stop at any point along your walk if you want to take a closer look at something or take a break. And as you walk, invite God into your mind, your heart, and this space right here, right now. You can even imagine Jesus right by your side as you move forward. It might feel a little silly, but it's true that God is always with you. Take some time to look at the world around you as if you're seeing it for the very first time. Psalm 19, verse 1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." Take some time to look up. What do you see? Take a moment to notice your senses. Notice the sounds, what you smell, what you hear. Look around and find something that brings you joy. Why does it bring you joy? What around you makes you feel wonder or awe? Sometimes what brings us awe is very big. Sometimes it's something small. If so, take a moment to take a closer look. Psalm 65, verse 8 says, "The whole earth is filled with awe at your wonders. Where morning dawns, where evening fades, you call forth songs of joy." Where or how have you seen God's glory during this walk? If you'd like, once again, take 3 or 4 deep breaths, breathing in God's love for you and the world around you. Thank you for listening to this resource from the Fuller Youth Institute. Feel free to continue this prayer walk on your own or to return to it another time. Find your awe moments as you go about your days. Notice what it causes you to feel inside. The humility and wonder and praise for God that emerges, this is all part of growing and deepening a relationship with God. Thank you, God, for this time and space and for your amazing love. Amen.